The objective of this video is to understand the difference between cohorts and segments when we use the user property condition. Here you have an example where we've taken all the events generated by one single user, and then for the segment here we apply a condition based on the property favorite fruit being equal to apple, and for the two other ones we have created two cohorts that have slightly different conditions, also which is based on the favorite fruit user property that has to be equal to apple. Here you see that the three conditions are behaving differently. To understand this, we are going to look into a user that we have generated. The use case is that we have created a user that goes to an online fruit shop. When creating the account, the user has defined his favorite fruit to be equal to apple. He then looks into details of a specific product, which is an apple. But then he changes his mind and sets his favorite fruit later on to be banana. He then looks into the details of the banana product, adds it to cart, and starts the checkout process. One thing to take into account is that both segments and cohorts base themselves on the historical value of the user properties when defining their conditions. Even if you have on the user profile that the latest user property value favorite fruit is banana, segments and cohorts are going to look into the historical values that have been registered upon each event. If we go back here, we are going to look first into the definition for segments. You see that we have 1 as total event count. This is because segments are only going to count events that have the historical value of favorite fruit user property being equal to apple. It is going to omit all other events. This means that if we go back here, checkout starter will not be counted, product added to cart will not be counted, this one neither, and then this one will be counted, which gives us the result of 1 total event. Now if we look into the cohort here, we see that we have set the name to apple anytime. I'm going to explain this by going to this section here, so to the definition of the cohort. You have the possibility to filter users based on the user property they had beforehand or now. Here the definition is we want to look into users who did have the user property favorite fruit being equal to apple at any point during the last 30 days. What does this mean? So if we take back the user flow, we want to look into users that had at any point apple. So here he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it here neither, and here he has it, which means that the user will be included in our analysis as he belongs to the cohort we've defined. Now you see that here we have the count of 4 being equal to all the 4 events generated by the user. It's just that the user property condition defined within cohorts can be seen as an initial condition that once satisfied, all the events generated by the user will be counted. As we've selected any event, you see that all his events have been taken into account, regardless of if the historical value has been defined to banana for the consecutive events. Still, this means that all the consecutive events will be included, while segments are a much stricter way of looking into events. And so for the last definition here, most recently, if we go to its definition, so you'll notice that it's an alternative to anytime. And now, instead, the process is going to be like this. It's going to take the mostly recently generated event and look into the user property. We see that the favorite fruit here is banana, which means that the user does not follow the defined condition. And as such, the result is going to be 0. However, I want to point out the fact that if we select a cohort that instead has banana as the most recently value condition, you'll see that the count is still 4. All the user events have been counted, regardless of the historical user property value. In short, segments only count events with the historical value favorite fruit equals to apple, while cohorts are going to look if in a previous point in time the condition has been satisfied and will count all the events of the user.